What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. We got so much to get to. Jam-packed weekend. We got a full hour-long show. Legs, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm my first good night's sleep in a while last night, so I'm very refreshed. I did a game in Cleveland, and then at 1, it was an early East Coast game, so then I could get to the airport, flew to LA, got to bed at a decent time, refreshed, ready to go.
I like it. I love to hear it, man. Opposite of producer James, who told me he didn't get to bed till 3 o'clock in the morning last night. So you got to sleep for him. We got a great show, though, because we're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that happened over the weekend. The Thunder made a couple big-time bounce-back wins. The Bucks beat the Pacers that we're going to talk about. We're going to go deep on the Magic and the Cavs game that you called last night. And then we have a bunch of quick hitters about, is there enough time? 14 games left to go in the season for most teams. Is there enough time for the Lakers, the Celtics, the Magic, Denver, Timberwolves, and Warriors? All of those teams have a ticking clock about certain boxes they're trying to check. We're going to start with a couple layup lines, James. Why don't we get started with a little warm-up here? And we're going to start with the Bucks beating the Pacers. We previewed this game going into the weekend slate. And because this is a rivalry game, these games have all been good. They might match up in a playoff series. And the Pacers had kind of given them some trouble. Obviously had that game winner from Halliburton in the corner earlier in the week. They get the rematch, and this one was all Bucks all the way up until the fourth quarter. Bucks were dominating it, had a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter and lost almost all of that, but were able to hold on at the end. What stood out to you about this one, or what are your notes from this one?
My notes are that, I genuinely have been pretty high on the Pacers after their rough start. I never gave up on them then, and I've been high on them ever since, and then kind of know that they're always kind of lurking out there as a tough team to have to play in the playoffs. And believed in my heart that if they got into a 4-5 with Milwaukee, that they'd be able to hold their own and possibly beat them, even if they were a 5 seed. And I don't know now. Like they have such a hard time guarding them. If you take away the Halliburton miracle shot and foul by Giannis in their last game, they swept them. The Bucks would have swept them this year. And we don't have rivalries in this league anymore. We all know that. But I mean, there has been some extra sauce on these two teams. Like when they play each other, there's a little bit more there. And you would think then that Indiana, knowing what was at stake, you would have been able to put up, I think, a better defensive effort against them and really dig in, knowing that, hey, if you get this game, you jump them and you now kind of control your own path to the 4. And if you have to play them in a first-round series, you host that series, and they weren't able to guard them. I mean, this was a 20-point game basically going into the fourth quarter, and Indiana made a run to make it a little bit more interesting. But for the most part, this was all about Milwaukee, and I was kind of surprised that Indiana didn't offer more resistance.
Well, going to get hit with the pillow talk here. It was the second night of a back-to-back for Indiana, so there is that part of it.
James,
I mean, it matters.
James, he's 10 seconds into his first comment.
I'm just saying it does matter in the NBA, man. I don't care. Bring out the pillows. There it is. I don't even mind. It is a fact of the NBA that these things matter. Thank you. What I will say in this game is if you just look at the plus minuses on this one, you have some crazy numbers. Nesmith and Nembhard, both plus 27 for the Pacers in a game they lost. You go to the bench, TJ McConnell, 16 minutes, minus 34. Benedict Mathurin, 12 minutes, minus 34. I mean, this is part of it too, is, we've talked about the Bucks and how they've altered a little bit of their rotation, how they figured something out with Kevin Porter Jr. and Kyle Kuzma being able to give a spell to their two big stars and play, a bench that can survive. And to me, that's what's meaningful about this game. I mean, really, it wasn't just that every time the benches come in, they went on a run. It was really just that fourth quarter. But nonetheless, I look at that and I say, the Bucks being able to have a bench that they can play heavy minutes, Gary Trent Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., even Kyle Kuzma when he staggers, that's a difference for the Bucks, and it's one of the most important things they needed over these last couple of years, someone that can play when Giannis isn't on the court.
I tell you what, Kevin Porter Jr. is turning out to be a super valuable acquisition.
Crazy.
We had and I don't know that I at any point loved Kevin Porter Jr. And I still wouldn't say necessarily I love him now, but you can't deny the guy can score, and he is so confident in his scoring ability, and it's been different ways. Like last night, or Saturday, whatever that game was, I lost track of time. He got to the line 9 times in that game off the bench. He goes 9 for 9 from the free throw line. There was another game last week when he hit 3 threes in a row that basically got them separation in a game. So he's got a kind of a funky offensive game. His shot is not pure. It's very flat, but he's a scorer. And if he gets something easy or he gets to the line, he now becomes a very dangerous scorer all over the floor. And the guy is getting it done for them. And man, did they need it. If you talk about a team that needed, because basically what he's giving them right now is a lot of what Chris Middleton used to give them.
Wow.
And when Chris Middleton was right, you just pencil in double figures, certainly, but good nights, man, 15 to 20 from that spot. And it's not really anything. You're not running a bunch of stuff for him. He's a ISO and ball screen player. That's all he is. You don't have to go out of your way to anything special. The guy just plays basically pick up basketball, but he's so good at it. He's given them an element of their offense that now when Giannis is out of the game, they have a focal point and an identity, particularly if Giannis and Lillard are out of the game, which isn't often, but there are times in each half when both of those guys are off the court. Now you have a real problem without Chris Middleton, from 5 years ago being healthy. Yeah, just give it to him. Let him go, be the guy. They don't have that now. Kevin Porter Jr. is doing a pretty good impersonation of that point production and drawing fouls, which then makes it harder even when Giannis comes back in the game to guard him. Because now Kevin Porter Jr. just do 3 fouls while he was on the bench. Well, good luck trying to guard Giannis now when you can't touch him. So all of that stuff matters. It all adds up. He's been great. You can't say any other word, man. He's been a lot more, I'm sure, than Doc Rivers and the Bucks expected him to be.
I love the point about getting into the bonus because I think it's one of the underrated stories. Every team plays better when they're in the bonus. And when you have guys, you think about how the second quarter begins for most teams, it's usually your benches. So in those second quarters and fourth quarters, if you can pick up 2-3 fouls on the other team in the first 3 or 4 minutes, starters come back in. And if you have a guy like Giannis, like you said, good luck trying to guard him when you can't foul him without putting him on the line. That's a big part of it. For the Pacers, this was a big one. I think the fact that they rallied back in the fourth quarter means something to me, just because, you have blowouts and then you have a team that figures something out or is just able to find some kind of run against them, find the seam. So I'm going to count this one, obviously a huge Bucks win, but I still think this matchup is intriguing. I don't think it changes my perspective. I hope we get to see it in the playoffs because it would be really, really fun. The other storyline here, the Thunder beat the Pistons and Bucks over the weekend. I mean, the Thunder have been impressive all the time, all season long. They don't go on losing streaks. They beat good teams, but these were 2 really good wins. Pistons won, maybe a little bit of controversy, with technical fouls and some of the things that happened down the stretch. But the Bucks one was just dominant, statement win. And I want to give a shout out to my guy, Isaiah Hartenstein. I saw this stat over the weekend. He's the highest. He has the highest rebound average of any player ever for the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's averaging an 11-11 double-double. I've always liked his passing, and I thought in that Bucks game, he had some passes. It's an underutilized skill of his. He had one over the head, kind of like over the head pass. He just does everything for them. And obviously he was huge for the Knicks last year, but this year for the Thunder, it's almost like this might be his best fit so far in how he's playing for him. What stands out to you about the 2 wins they got?
The first thing that stands out is it's been a long time since you brought up Hartenstein. I was wondering if you'd soured on him or you haven't really been mentioning
no
him
way.
I got a feeling we're about to get hit with a lot
Yeah.
of Hartenstein from this point forward, with the
so.
Thunder being the focal point of a lot of what we're going to be covering. First of all, they just continue to methodically carve people up, and Shea just does what he does every night against any defender, any type of scheme. Doesn't matter. Like, and you're talking about, teams that could throw. If anybody can throw guys at him that should be able to slow him down, he just went through two of them, and it doesn't matter, man. He just gets to his spots, does what he wants. They're just incredibly impressive, man. I'm still surprised though, Adam. I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel just the general narrative when I'm talking about the league to people, whatever it may be, people in the league, people associated when you're calling a game and you're talking to people at the arena, like whatever it may be, or just fans you're interacting with. I still feel like outside of Oklahoma City, I don't feel like there's enough genuine belief that this team is going to be the last one standing. And it kind of surprises me at this point, man, because they're so good.
Yeah, I agree with you. In some ways, you understand it, right? Everybody wants, you always bet on the teams that you've seen do it before, and they just haven't done it. They haven't been to a conference finals. But at the same time, we just know statistically that it's not just that you're a 1 seed. If you're a 1 seed, you have a +6 net rating. You're up 2 games in the standing. It's like, all right, they're the 1 seed, but let's not overdo it. They're up by 12 games in the Western Conference. Their net rating is insane. Their net rating is that of a team that is historic. So I'm with you. I understand the skepticism to them, but they do it almost every night. It takes miracles to beat them. And the other part of this that I think you have to take into account, their offense, they have Shea. I would understand if people said Shea can be shut down in a playoff series because team comes up with schemes. You could get a bad matchup where one defender makes an impact, whatever. But they defend. You don't score on them, and that's consistent. It's not like they have good and bad nights defensively. Every night they are dominant defensively, no matter what type of offense you throw, and that's why I think it's a little crazy to be skeptical on them.
It's just mind blowing that their metrics defensively, man, across the board, every single we'll talk about 3 or 4 all the time: defending the 3, defending the paint, defending transition, defending points off turnovers. Like we'll talk about those a lot. But there's these guys that are on these teams with their analytics, there's another 20 that are like, now you're talking like it's like NASA when you start talking about some of this stuff. When you look at those metrics in any way you can carve it up, they're number 1 in the league. So there is no weakness in that wall they have built defensively where, here you go, this door's cracked open. Let's go in this way. You can't get in. And so that's why even nights when they don't particularly shoot the 3 well, which they do have those nights, it doesn't matter to them. They're not fazed by it because they're hanging their hat on the other end. We're gonna at some point, we're gonna hit you with a relentlessness and a pressure that is going to lead to a 4-minute drought on your end. And whether that means that's where we come back in a game, that's where we create separation, or that's where we end you. It's going to happen at some point. There's going to be a 4 to 6 minute stretch where you just can't get off quality looks because of their speed to the ball and their speed to close out. It's just, and that's why for me, look, I'm not, there yet declaring, hey man, forget it. They're winning it. I'm not listening to it. I don't think it's necessary people to make those kind of predictions this time of year. I just don't understand the point of it. Let's see what happens because it does matter how they play in the early rounds. It does. If for some reason you have a couple guys, like who knows, like feel the pressure in the playoffs and they can't make shots. And now it's like, wow, man, this has marginalized them a little bit. It'll affect you a little bit if then they get a matchup in the second or third round against, a team like, say, the Lakers or the Warriors, or like who are playing great, and they've got all this experience in the postseason. It could affect you. So there's no point in making these bold predictions like, oh, forget it, wrap it up, it's over. Like that's just silly. But right now, for me, man, it's hard to envision a team being able to operate the way you have to offensively in a 7-game series to beat them 4 times. It is hard for me to think who that could be right now. That's how good they've been, and they just put 2 more. Really, 3, really. I mean, if you count the Boston game, Boston, Milwaukee, Detroit,
right before it.
all three of those games where they just stack them up, and then it's just more notches in the belt.
I don't know how many teams would go 3-0 in that stretch. You look at all 3 of those games are tough, and they go 3-0 with them. There's 2 more points I have here. One I want to ask you about. The first one, Kenrich Williams starts in this game, and I've watched the Thunder enough and just follow them. This is one of the things I love that Dagnott does. You don't have Lou Dort. And most teams, it's like, all right, well, we need the same type of guy. We're just going to go with this guy. We're missing a guard. Let's put a guard in or whatever it is. I love that Dagnott, you don't know who he's going to start. He's going to look at the matchup. He's going to say, oh, Kenrich Williams, that's who will start in the spot. Great call. He goes for 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 0 points. That's what he does, though. Just a great connecting player. And then the other thing, and this is the one I want to ask you about, Chet Holmgren goes 2 of 4 from the 3-point line for 16 points. Since coming back from injury, I don't feel he has had the full repertoire that he had to start the season off the dribble game. He does it a little bit, but not nearly as much as he was at the start of the season. But when I watch his 3-point shot legs, he's so young that I look at it and I go, we're so bad at projecting forward with players. He's young enough that I go, is that a guy that is like a high volume, very efficient 3-point shooter, given the offense and the position he plays? His shot looks good to me. And I would not be surprised if he's a guy 2-3 years from now, maybe even next season, that you're just saying, oh, he's a 40% 3-point shooter on 7 or 8 attempts a game, 9 attempts a game. He can be a volume guy on top of all the other stuff he does. And if he's that, he's already probably the second best shot blocker in the NBA, second or third. And if he can be a Porzingis level 3-point shooter, I mean, we're talking about a super player. And so that's one thing, is that when you watch him play, you forget how young he is and how much his game can expand in those areas.
That's so true. And that's why, look, man, they're serving notice. This is going to last a while. What they have built there is going to last a while, not to mention what they've done with the front office, and they still have so many assets. And like this, get ready, because this is going to be Oklahoma City every year. We're going to be talking about Oklahoma City. Now, they might not win, 65 games every year like they're going to this year, but they're good. They're going to be a team that every year is going to have an opportunity to do it. I've called a lot of their games, so I kind of developed this nice rapport with Daignault over the course of the season. I had never met him before this year. And so to now, I keep showing up in the locker room. He walks in to do the pregame interview. He's like, oh, it's like I'm part of the team now. I've been there. I see him so much. We've had great conversations. And I love what he said too about another guy on their team, Aaron Wiggins. He referred to him as his punching bag from this standpoint. He goes, I actually have empathy for him, because you feel sorry for, like, he has no idea tonight what it's going to be. You're going to start tonight. You're going to come off the bench. You're going to play 18 minutes. You're going to get 6 shots. Tonight, you're going to come off the bench, play 28 minutes. You're going to take 15 shots. He said he doesn't even put him in the game when he is off the bench at the same time all the time. He said, and he never is fazed by any of it. It doesn't matter at any point. His demeanor never changes. And I think you could say the same thing about Case and Wallace. I think you could say the same thing about Dort. It doesn't matter on a given night what comes their way. It's all built around Shea. Jalen Williams is option 2. Everybody else on a given night, you get what you get, but you are expected to give max effort on the other end of the floor. And at no point is that going to waver. And that's what their whole thing is built upon. Everyone is bought into it. You got something special in your hands when you can create that. And I give Daignault the most credit. He's such a likable guy. He's so incredibly smart that everything that comes out of his mouth, if you're a player, you're so bought in, because even if he's wrong, he sounds so convincing.
Yeah.
That this is right. Because it's not like there's no uncertainty in it. It's so definitive in his approach that you're just like, yeah, man, this guy, that sounds right. That sounds like that's going to work. Let's do that. Let's follow this guy, because I think he knows what he's doing. But at the same time, likable and supportive. And like, he gets to know them. The stuff he would tell us, like, first of all, he sits in there. We're supposed to get like 10 minutes with these guys.
Yeah.
Daignault like crosses his legs and he sits there, he brings in a cup of coffee and he sits there and he'll just start telling stories about his players on a personal level.
Man,
like,
great.
Think about Kenrich Williams. Do you know in high school one time, and he'll start telling you this story because he's taken the time to get to know these guys. He knows their kids' names. He knows like their birthdays, their kids' birthdays. Like he's that smart. His mind has such an ability to retain all this information. He has created this connection with these guys, even though they're young players. He's created this and look, he didn't play in the league, man. His background is all coaching.
Yeah,
it's not playing at all. It's all coaching. He just came up through the grassroots programs, and here he is. And so I just think that the bond he has with these guys and how they will run through a wall for him and listen to everything he says and buy in that this is the right way. Look, his success breeds that because he's got the proof. Hey, I think what I'm saying is right, because look at our record. They got something really, really special. Now it just comes down to, when are they seasoned enough? Is it this year? Is it next year? Like, when is it? Like, it's looking more and more like they might already be.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a big test for him. I will say this on Mark Dagnott, because I love your point, and I agree with you. When they come to Denver, which is twice a year, same exact thing. You interview him in the pregame, and you know what a pregame is. You ask a coach a question, and he just talks around it because he doesn't want to give anything away.
But
And
they
you're
give
right.
you cliche answers,
Cliche,
right?
oh, we got to defend as a team.
Got to play hard. We got to, get, it's just the same stuff. Most of those guys, you're right.
But part of being a great coach, in fact, maybe the biggest part, in my opinion, is being a great communicator, because you can have the right ideas. It's leadership and communication. And part of great communication is clarity of thought. And that's what stands out to me. Is I've asked him what I would consider some, maybe complex questions, right? Like more strategic questions about the Nuggets, and his not only willingness to answer, but his ability to communicate a complex thought very clearly to an idiot like me, that just stands out. And I think if he's talking to me like that, imagine how well he communicates complicated concepts to his team. And that's why they carry it out. So I'm with you. Very impressed with him. They're always prepared. The team is smart. Don't give the coach all the credit. The team is really smart. And I agree with you. They have something special brewing, and we'll have to see how it plays out. They have nothing left to prove for the next month. And everything to prove right after that. Let's take a break. On the other side, Legs was in Cleveland to call a rare Cleveland home loss against the Orlando Magic, and perhaps I could say a rare Orlando Magic clutch win. So we're going to break down what happened in that game on the other side. First, it's workout season. Summer is right around the corner. You want to get in shape. There's plenty of fitness influencers that are trying to sell you less for more. Fitbod combines the workout planning and tracking you need to stay consistent and make progress. You guys hear about me talk about this every single week, but I really do believe in this product. I think this one is incredible, because what it is like having a pro trainer right on your smartphone. You plug in your information, you sign up. It's a subscription service. You sign up and you enter your information, height, weight, all those types of things, what your workout goals are, what equipment's available for you. And then just like a personal trainer, it customizes a workout plan for you. And I know sometimes you sign up for these things and you think, well, I don't have an hour, 4 times a week to go, and that's all they give you. You can tailor it to what is available to you. I've only got 30 minutes twice a week, 3 times a week. I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm trying to bulk up. I'm trying to cut for beach season, or whatever it is. You just put in your goals. Maybe you're just trying to get stronger. You just actually want like health and fitness or cardio or whatever it is. You plug in your goals and it will give a workout that fits your specifications. It's a really great and intuitive app. It's not one of these ones that's going to take you forever and then you don't understand anything that's going on. It's super intuitive, and it is going to help you reach your fitness goals. Reaching fitness goals, if you've never been into it, is one of the hardest things to do. Changing habits. This is a thing that's going to help you because they give you push notifications. They tailor the workouts for you. You can set your schedule that week. Maybe you're on the road Monday, Tuesday, so your schedule's a little bit off this week. It'll tailor it to you and adjust everything on the back end so that all you're getting is what you need to focus on, and it's really going to up your chances of success. So level up your workout. Join Fitbod today to get your personalized workout plan. You get 25% off your subscription, or you can try it for free for 7 days at fitbod.me/allNBA. You can also see that in the link in the description of the show, fitbod.me/allNBA. Get ready for the season ahead with Shady Rays, quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company. I like that. Offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I'm a big hiking guy, get up to the mountains a lot. They got these nice polarized shades that are perfect for hiking. They've got aviators and navigators, style ones, and more like adventure ones or sport ones. So they have everything, hundreds of options to choose from. So you're bound to find the perfect pair that match your style. And they probably have a style in your team's favorite colors if that's the angle you're looking to go. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. If you head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Also in the link in the description of the show, you just click on that and plug in that code AC35 to get that deal. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, back here on the All NBA show. We got shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday this week. We're always live 4 times a week. You're not going to want to miss any of them. Even though Legs is crisscrossing the country, going all the way back and forth, and the busiest man, he's still making time to do this show live. Let's talk about the game you called last night, or actually I should say yesterday, daytime game, matinee game. The Cavs dropped to the Magic 108-103. And the craziest thing about this one statistically was the Magic are one of the lowest volume three-point shooting teams in the NBA. The Cavs one of the highest volume three-point shooting teams. And yet the Orlando Magic outshot them from the three-point line, 13 makes to 10. That's one of the things that stood out to me, but you were close to the action. What stood out to you?
Man, a lot. There's so many things to talk about in this game. Most of it Orlando Magic based, just because, like, I know who Cleveland is, and I'm a believer in Cleveland. And at the end of the day, it's going to be Boston and Cleveland battling it out in the conference finals to go to the finals. There's just no question in my mind about that. So this one game's not going to change that. They had a 16-game winning streak. They were all in to win it. Now, they didn't have Evan Mobley, which is a massive loss. There's no question about that. But, that's one of the things we love about Cleveland is their depth. They still have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Jared Allen. So, and then all those role players, right? So they have more than enough to win the game, particularly against a Magic team that's also shorthanded without Jalen Suggs and, Banchero and Wagner missing all that time. They're still kind of trying to find their rhythm. More than enough to win, but they didn't win. And they didn't win for one reason. The Orlando Magic played as hard in this game as any team I've watched all year play a game. And I don't know how many games I've called at this point, Adam, but I'm going to say this was in top 5 for me, just personally, subjectively, as the most fun game I called because of how impressed I was with the Orlando Magic's effort. And by the way, Cleveland plays hard too. They play hard all the time. So that was there too. It wasn't like they came out and laid an egg. The Orlando Magic absolutely earned this win. Every single inch of this win they took because of their relentless ability to just not at any point let go of the rope or wave the flag. They got hit with 2 big punches. Right to start of the game, Cleveland was carving them up with high ball screen. Jared Allen was dominating them in the paint. And it was like, man, this is going to be a long day. Magic, kind of hung around, and then they got back in it. It was almost even. And then they hit him with another run right before half, including going the length of the court with 3 seconds left and DeAndre Hunter hitting a 3 at the buzzer to go up 13 at the half. And the crowd's going crazy. And you're
It's
like,
a great
okay,
play, by the way. That last play, just enough time to get a shot off.
Yeah, man. Mitchell catching that thing on the dead run and then knowing he had enough time to get that cross court. It was beautiful play, execution, and Hunter knocks it down. And the place going crazy. We went back to the green room at halftime, and I said to Mark Jones, this is going to go one of 2 ways. This is either going to be 25, like 8 minutes into the second half, or this is going to end up being like a 1-possession game. It all depends on Orlando. And they came out and they just fought the second half. They played so hard. So my first impression is this. I had also never interviewed or met Jamal Mosley. I was so impressed with Jamal Mosley before this game, man. And then I watched his team play and his passion on the sidelines. And it's almost like he's playing over there. Like he's so animated, man, and into it. And I love that. That's my kind of coaching style. I'm all about that. I hate the guys that kind of sit there and they fold their arms most of the game. I just don't get it. Yeah. Your players kind of feed off of that, especially a young team like they have. And so that's headline for me is, man, am I impressed with Jamal Mosley and how hard he gets these guys to play. And that's half the battle in this league. And he's got that. Now they've got some issues on their roster. They don't have nearly enough shooting. They're missing Suggs. They don't have a true lead guard on their roster, which is crazy to think to play in the NBA without that when the rules benefit having a guy like that and everybody's got one. They don't have one. And yet they still are able to do what they do some nights. And so for me, this is about Orlando much more than anything I'm reading into with Cleveland losing this game.
I love your point about Mosley. I've made it before on this very show because if you watch him, especially if you're at the arena, because the broadcast doesn't always just hone in on the coach.
You can't pick up on it.
But you're sitting courtside, obviously calling the game. But wherever you are, it stands out because he's sweating, he's screaming, he's in a defensive stance, he's jumping, he's shouting with 2 hands, around us. He burns 2,000 calories a game coaching the game.
For sure.
And to your point, his team plays with that same energy. It's almost like, look, if I'm giving this energy, you better have 3 times that. And they do. To me, I'm going to go back to another guy that I absolutely love. Well, actually, let's just talk about the game real quick first. One weird thing I thought, the Cavs fouled KCP with 31 seconds left. They were down 1. They don't get a basket. KCP grabs the rebound. Very good shooter. and they foul him immediately. And I think it was just reactionary. Like, it's late game. You don't know what you have. The Magic struggle to score in the half court. They're going to run that clock down. You still have a 7-second differential, and you can get a timeout. They foul him right away. KCP knocks down two free throws. To me, down 1 with 7 seconds left, if you get a stop, versus down 3 with 30 seconds left, I'd rather have the down 1 because you can drop a play, you could do something. So I thought that play was kind of interesting. KCP makes the threes, and then Cleveland got 3 good looks at a 3. They got Max Strus in the corner. He misses. Donovan Mitchell, a little bit of a tough contested 3 at the wing. And then he gets a rebound and gets an open 3 in the corner. So they get 3 threes, 2 of which were good. None of them go in. But what did you think about the foul to put them on the line with 31 seconds?
Hold on a second. I'm looking at something. Where you're talking about at the end of the game?
Very end of the game. I think it's KCP gets a rebound. And they foul him, and I think there's 31 seconds on the clock.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh wait, I was looking at the wrong quarter. I apologize. I'm trying because I called the game. I'm trying to remember that exactly. Yeah, here you go. You're right. So they foul with 31 seconds to go. Yeah, you're well. First of all, yeah, you give me inside 10 seconds down 1 with the ball.
Yeah,
I'll take that I'll take that any day of the week, particularly against Cleveland, which has a precision to their offense, especially all built around their ball screen game. It's so now you don't have Mobley, and that makes it much more difficult to guard when you have both of those bigs on the court at the same time and how you're going to play that ball screen. But I agree with you. If you give me the option between the two, take the foul, and now you have more time on the clock, but you're down 3. No. And by the way, I will say this: those 2 threes by Mitchell, I wouldn't necessarily label either of those like quality. The first one, he jumped and he had to lean forward because the defender came over the top with a swipe, and it kind of affected his release. Now they get the offensive rebound. He runs all the way over to the right corner, and they kind of flip it to him, and then he shot like a kind of fade away.
Yeah,
fading. It wasn't a great shot in the corner on a day when I think you started this out by saying coming into the game, Cleveland is number 2 in the league in makes, 16 a game, number 1 in percentage. And Orlando dead last in makes and percentage. And they make more threes than Cleveland in the game. Like, there's no way you can script that. But other than Sam Merrill, who had 5 or 6 of the cleanest 3-point looks a spot-up shooter's ever going to have in this league, and he couldn't make any until he did make one important one after that. He missed his first 6. And they were including 3 in a row in a very short, all like naked looks for a guy that good. That's very unusual. The rest of them, Adam, outside of Swear, his shots, they were all heavily contested with great effort, man, and great extension and athletes closing out with max effort to contest these shots. So a lot of the misses Orlando contributed to, but Kenny Atkinson alluded to it. It was, no matter how you slice it, it's a bad shooting night for them. For the Cavs, and they normally shoot better. And if they shoot even a decent number in this game, they probably win the game. But give Orlando credit. There's a reason those numbers came back to the pack. They're the 3rd best defensive team in the league by efficiency, and they proved it. Cleveland averages 122 points a game, and they were held to 103. That's Orlando more than Cleveland. So even those looks at the end of the game, man, I credit the effort on Orlando to get to Mitchell and force much more difficult looks than otherwise he would have had.
Yeah. What else stood out to you? I got one other take, but I'm going to save it for the end because it's not a top take. But what else stood out to you about this one?
Well, the Orlando Magic are very unique in the way they operate their offense because they do not have a playmaking guard on their roster. They don't have any of them. Like Anthony Black played great in this game, and he's spotty with his offense. They need it from somewhere on a given night. They got it from him in a big way. That's clearly not KCP strength creating offense. That's not really Cole Anthony. That's not these guards that come that get spot minutes for them or rotational minutes. It's not even Suggs. Suggs is not that. Suggs is one, maybe arguably the best on-ball perimeter defender in the league. And then he's improved his offense. He's not that. So they run their offense through these 2 6'10" forwards. And both of these guys can handle the ball, Banchero and Wagner, and they're good at ISO. They're good at ball screen. But it's unusual. Who else? Nobody else in the league runs their offense with 2 6'10" guys doing the primary amount of the ball handling. But that's who they are. So that's what stood out to me. Watching them go, man, Can you imagine if they had just a guard, 6'5" guard that could just get where he wanted to with the ball to create easier opportunities for those two guys? Because they go 14 for 41 in this game, those two players, and they still won because of their defense and their effort and staying in the fight. And when we asked Kenny Atkinson before the game, like, what, anything you were concerned about with the 16-game winning streak, playing this team in particular, he said, they're desperate and they never die. He goes, you have to kill them to stop them from coming at you. You can't hit them with a one punch. They go to the floor and then you walk away like in a bar fight. They're going to get up, smash a bottle, and come after you. And so he goes, that's kind of what you're dealing with this team. And he was 100% right. He called it. So I'm looking at their offense going, man, oh man, oh man, if they could figure out how to add a couple of spot-up shooters and one guard that could create offense for himself and other people, not even at a high level. I'm still, everybody might be like, oh, that's obvious. Add an all-star guard. No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about like a second-tier guy that could create, that's a natural lead guard, point guard, knows how to manipulate ball screen and get in the paint and find. They don't have it on their roster, and yet they still are this team that's so intriguing. Their season was not completely derailed by injuries. It was definitely stalled. And now here they are, and they're fighting. They got the 7 in their sights, right? And there's a good chance they get it. If they get 7, that's a big deal because you have to now host the 7-8, and you got to win one game, and now you're set. Look, no matter what the reward is, Boston, right? Even if you're 8, the reward is Cleveland. That's not a great reward for those 7 through 10 teams, but for this team to pull that off, if they get to 7, win that game, and they're the 7 seed, missing all of those games with their top 3 players, to me, that's one of the really good stories in this league this year, Adam.
Yeah, they really are. And when you said they weren't completely decimated, I disagree. I think that their season was, because I think they could have been a top 4 team this year. I think they could have been in that Milwaukee, Indiana range. They started the year well. The injuries, they never got the Paolo and Franz together till halfway through the year. And then Suggs goes down. To me, Suggs is such an important piece of their team that they have been decimated. This is them holding on. But I want to make 2 points real quick. One of them is the Magic are 12-4 when they shoot over 37%. Not 40%, 37% from 3. 12-4. And what's crazy is, one, the fewest number of games shooting over 37%, just 16 games. For reference, the Cavs have done it 40 times. The Nets, who are league average, have done it 28 times. They've done it 16. And then they're 7-2 when they make at least 15 threes, which again is an outlier for being so low. Most teams have several games like that. So to me, when you look at this Magic team, I think they're closer than people realize. They've had injuries that have disguised it a little bit, but also I think you can add 1 or 2 shooters to this rotation that can make all of a difference. And then secondly, one shooter you can add to the rotation. I don't expect this guy to become a shooter, but I love Anthony Black. I just think he's
one of your guys.
He's one of my guys.
Put it up, James.
Go ahead and put it up, James.
Anthony Black. I'll give it to you.
Do you like him too? I mean, look, the thing is his shot in this game was very clean looking. I think he's a guy whose shot looks different game to game. But he had 2 threes in that, I think it was in the fourth quarter, where he jumps into it, catches on the jump, and just goes up smoothly with it. To me, I don't think he'll be a great 3-point shooter, but mechanically, I think he can get to a place where he's a little bit more consistent, and he's so long. You talk about them not having guards. Suggs and Black, I think you can get like 2/3 of the way there to a good backcourt rotation with those 2 guys if Anthony Black can be a 37% 3-point shooter.
What's crazy is, look, I'm not like, I wouldn't be fighting you over to claim him as my guy. Like we wouldn't arm wrestle over that. I'll let you have him.
But you see it.
No. He's impressing me, and they don't win the game without Anthony Black yesterday. I mean, where else was that going to come from? Wagner, by the way, 11, like coming into the game, he was something like 11 for his last 50 from the 3. And he had another brutal game from the 3. But I love the way he plays, man. I'm a big Franz Wagner fan, man. The way he moves, and he's strong and he's tough, and he's a battler and he's a winner. You can just see he's a winner. But he is going through a brutal stretch shooting the ball outside the paint. He's still good around the rim, And he did make a big three in this game, but it's been brutal. So with the way he's shooting it, Banchero had a rough day shooting the ball. Like, where is it going to come from? Anthony Black gave them exactly what they needed. And look, what's weird to me is he's doubled his scoring average this year from his rookie year, and his 3-point percentage has come down 8 points. Those two things don't go together. Like, you would think, no, he's up from 4.5 to 9 points a game. Well, he must have, maybe he's making more threes. Nope, 31% from the three. So his stroke is good enough. It lends itself, Adam. He'll never be 40. That's my prediction. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
Can you get to 36 to 38? If you can get to 36 to 38, taking 5, 6 a game, and on some nights, maybe you take 7 to 10. Eventually, I'm talking, he's 21 years old. I mean, I'm talking when he's 23 or 24 years old. Man, oh man, you got something on your hands, because he's a very good defender, and he's got quick feet and long arms. And I thought their guards, KCP, Anthony Black, I thought these guys did a great job on Garland and Mitchell for the most part throughout the game, because those are two very difficult guys to contain.
I see a comment here. New Age Live says, don't hop on the train now, Adam. Magic will be the team of the East in 2 to 3 years. You haven't been watching the show. Last year, they were my side piece team.
We both loved them last year. And I didn't at any point not love them this year. It's just like, how can you love a team when no one's there? No one's playing. Hurt. So you don't even know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that they missed all that time Banchero at the start of the year. And remember, he was averaging like 41 points a game in his first 5. He had a 50-point game in his first 5 games of the year. Yeah. Who knows what his season was going to look like? Goes out for all the time. And then Wagner, same injury, weird oblique injury, same thing. And then okay, we got him back. Suggs done for the year. Oh. I mean, so there you go. And yet here they are. I tell you, man, I'm just Jamal Mosley. I've been kind of admiring their team without knowing as much about him, and getting to now interact with him and sit there and watch. Because you said it, when you're sitting courtside, the stuff that I'm watching during timeouts, and when you're in commercial and I'm watching their bench and watching him, and even out of the corner of my eye while the game's going on, stuff I'm seeing out of him, he's become one of my favorite guys in the league, man. Just to watch coach and what he's pouring into it. They made a great hire.
Last thing I have here is the Cavs and Thunder are now only separated by 1 game. The Cavs did have a little bit of a lead there for a second, a little bit of a lead, 2 or 3 games, but it's 1 game. And I'm just curious. I don't think either team should look to the finals, but at the same time, if you told me that was the finals matchup and Cavs have home court, I think I would take the Cavs. If you told me that was a finals matchup and the Thunder have home court, I might shade towards the Thunder. So in a weird way, that race actually does matter, I think, to some extent. Do you think it will matter to those teams?
I do, and it should. It should. I mean, you're nuts, I think, to think that, oh, you know what? I know we're in this neck and neck race for home court advantage in the finals, but I'm really more concerned about rest. No chance, man. And it's interesting, because otherwise, can you imagine if, I don't know, one of these teams, well, I guess if one of these teams was, no, you know what? Doesn't have to be crazy. If Oklahoma City was 4 to 5 games behind Cleveland right now, they'd still be up 9 in their conference. So you could still, you could be like, okay, concede, we're not getting the 1. We got such a gap over number 2 in our own conference. We can still rest guys. So it's not like, oh, well, if one of them wasn't as close to the other, then they'd be in a dogfight in their own conference. No, they wouldn't be. They'd still have these big leagues. Now, Cleveland's only 7.5. That's still big. So I think, Adam, they both, and I said it on the broadcast, I said that there's a big group of, there's a group of players in OKC right now really intently watching this game and rooting for the Orlando Magic, because it brought them within a half a game. And I do think you should be putting this thing through the wire. They're both, they're young teams, man. You can do it, because I think it's that important. If you get to that matchup, to have home court, start off those first 2 games in your building with 2 teams with 0 finals experience, I think is very important.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now to a couple quick hitters. We're only, 4 weeks away from the playoffs. Yeah, 4 weeks away from the end of the regular season. Not a lot of time. And I'm going to ask you if there's enough time for a couple things to happen. And I'm going to start here. LeBron is rehabbing, possibly back this week. Luka and LeBron haven't played that much. When they did play, it looked like it instantly clicked. But I've seen this a lot where you get a new piece, it clicks for 5, 6, 7 games, 8, maybe 10 games. But then teams start to figure out a weakness, and then do you really know your identity? Is there enough time, in your opinion, for the Lakers to fully forge not just their identity, but all of the things they're going to need to do to make a deep playoff run? Is there enough time remaining for the Lakers to figure that out?
I do, but I do think there's enough time, because I think ultimately what you have to believe in is they're going to win their first round series, because that will be an additional probably 5, 6, maybe 7 games. That's more time working through it, assuming you think they're going to win that regardless of who they play. And I think a lot of people would believe in that. That gives you more time. Because here's the thing. What they're going to revert back to is their defense was so good during that stretch, and it started before the trade.
Point.
Was so good during that stretch, and it was ugly when they first started playing with Luka. They have learned better how to protect him defensively. That is really what turned their season around. And then you started to see, even Luka is finally starting to shoot the ball better. He shot the ball horribly for that whole stretch when he first got there. He's starting to string together shots now, and you're starting to see how dynamic this is going to be with him and LeBron. And then, oh, by the way, your third guy is Austin Reeves. One of those guys is getting a blow. How good has Austin Reeves been during this stretch while they're figuring all this stuff out? You got 3 elite playmakers. And so I think that end is going to be so difficult for teams to deal with. The defense is what we were worried about. We've already seen it. So now it just comes down to get back in time to give them enough rhythm. Now, whether that's a few games, handful of games going into the playoffs, plus an additional 5, 6, whatever it ends up being in that first round, that to me, Adam, is enough time. Now, what's interesting is, do you think it matters at all to the Lakers? Like, I think for a lot of teams, man, just avoid OKC as long as you can. Do you think that matters at all to a team like the Lakers? Like, it's the Lakers. If you think they're good enough, then you think they're good enough to do it all. And it doesn't matter when they play OKC. So for me, I was thinking the shame for them is they had a shot at 2, where now you're hosting 2 rounds and avoid OKC. Best case scenario. Well, that's now out the window, I think. I think now you're looking at potentially, I don't think Golden State's catching them, or Minnesota. I don't think they're going to fall as low as 6. So let's say 5. You go on the road and play Memphis, Denver, or Houston. I mean, I think the Lakers are going to be confident in those series.
Yeah, I think so too. The OKC piece of this is interesting, because as I try to think about who's the best matchup for Oklahoma City, I think their weakness is wings that can score and draw fouls. And Lakers have 2 of them, 2 really, really big wings, because they have these great guards, and they even have strong, stocky guards, but they don't have guys that are 6'8", that you can throw at Luka and LeBron. So to me, not only they're not scared. If I'm OKC, I might look at that and just hope that the Lakers fall to the 2-3 or somewhere, somewhere there. The next one I have for you, Porzingis comes back after a very bizarre illness. You don't see guys miss tons of time to illness like this, but he did. And he had 24 points in his return against the Brooklyn Nets. Crazy stat for you. The starting 5 for the Celtics this year have only played 307 minutes. And they have a negative net rating, negative 1.7. So is there enough time? I mean, we all are just penciling in the Celtics because we saw them last year, but is there enough time for their starting 5 and for Porzingis in particular to work his way back and to be ready for the playoffs?
Yeah, and it's I think one of the more understated stories of the league is that they really haven't had a much full health this year. And as a result, they're 7.5 games back in the Eastern Conference, when most people thought going in, it was very easy to say the Boston Celtics is the best team, not only in the East, in the league. And you're expecting them to have the number 1 seed, and it hasn't played out that way at all. Now listen, the Cavaliers have been incredible, but Boston hasn't really been at full strength. So yes, there is enough time. And I also think they quietly know this in their mind. You haven't seen their best punch this year, and that's coming now that he's back. Now look, I'd say that, but at the same time, you're right. Crazy illness. We want health for all these guys. It was weird to the point he had to address it on social media, because he said he was getting reached out to by so many people on social media, like wondering, man, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Because there wasn't a lot of information. All they said was non-COVID. Well, then what could it be? He finally addressed it. It was a viral thing that possibly turned into mononucleosis. They're not exactly sure, it sounds like now. But he said he was so weak. Every time he worked out, he was exhausted for an entire day. It was started to become concerning to him. Well, yes, he's back. But my point is he going to stay back? Is it going to be something else with Kristaps Porzingis? Because he's had this stuff throughout his career, it feels like. Even last year in the finals, rolls his ankle and misses time. So it's great to get them back. We need to see them at full strength for here an extended period of time here going into the playoffs to remind everybody what that looks like when they have everybody, because they haven't had that very often.
Is there enough time, Legs, for Denver to figure out their defense? They are 22nd in defensive rating. They had the big win over the Thunder last Monday, blown out by the Wolves, gave up 1 million points, almost lost to the Lakers, who were resting everybody other than Austin Reeves, gave up a ton of points, and then lost to the Washington Wizards and gave up a ton of points. Is there time to fix their defense in the last 14 games?
Adam.
Oh, no.
I hate to tell you this, man. I had some of those DNVR shirts you gave me to wear.
Those were gifts.
To wear on. Yeah, just nice gifts when I came out there to see you in Denver, and you gave me some parting gifts. I felt like I was on a game show. You guys handed me stuff as I was leaving. And I love those shirts. They're great quality shirts. They fit great, comfortable. I brought some on the road trip I'm on right now to wear on these shows. And I pulled it out of the bag today, looked at it, and put it back in the bag and put this on because these last 3 games have been disturbing. Okay. They were eaten alive by the Timberwolves defense. Just mauled.
Murdered.
And it reminded me a lot of what happened in the playoffs last year. I was like, oh my goodness. Then I'm like, okay, you have a chance now against the Lakers. Like, right this wrong. They only have Austin Reeves, okay, as their best player. They don't have the other 2 guys. Deal with it. They almost lose that game. Give up a ton of points. And then the cherry on top. Brother, you can't lose to the Wizards at home at this time of the year. You can't lose to them at this time of the year at home. When you had those 2 games and you want to sell us that you're in the fight and you potentially are going to be the biggest challenger to Oklahoma City in the West. And look, and not that it would matter if you pounded the Wizards. A lot of people aren't going to care, but you have to, as part of a larger statement. You can't give up 126 points at home to the Wizards. I don't care how you lost the game on that, that miracle 3 by Poole. It doesn't matter. So these 3 games are would you agree? Is this the 3 most disturbing games in a row all year for the Nuggets?
In a row. Yeah. But sadly, the Nuggets just have a lot of disturbing losses, sprinkled in throughout the year. But this is certainly at this point in the season and the degree to which, well, first of all, you counted it as a loss. They actually beat the Lakers, but it sure felt like a loss.
I didn't mean to say loss, but the fact that
I know, but you're right. It felt like a loss because of how narrowly they pulled that one out. So
listen, I don't know. It's good. Look, I'm not, I think Charles Barkley, my friend Charles Barkley, the other night on the air raised a great question when he said, who's the second best team in the West? He asked the other guys on the set that. I think it's a great question because I think we're all trying to figure it out because it looked like at one point I would have absolutely said Denver. At one point, it got to the point, it's like, man, maybe it is going to be the Lakers after all, the way they were playing before LeBron got hurt. I never really have said that about Houston or Memphis. I haven't said it yet about Golden State, but I mean, how can you deny them to be part of this argument? And now you've got Minnesota with 8 straight and one of the easiest schedules you're ever going to see to close the season. There's no telling when you look at the final, what do they have left? Minnesota's got 13 games left. They've already won 8 in a row. So when you look at this final 21 games for Minnesota, man, they might be 17-4, 18-3 going into the playoffs. And who knows at that point, my goodness, at that point, they might be as high as hell. They might be in the 4-5 hunt. You might be looking at that team with their defense and Anthony Edwards as being the answer. So right now, I think it's all up in the air, but I think these last 3 games have made it a much more difficult sell if you're talking about the Denver Nuggets.
100%. I have no faith in him. But and just so people know, because I always hear on this show, like, oh, Adam's a homer, Adam's a homer. I predicted them in the preseason to be the 5 seed this year. I was very low on them coming in. After the preseason, I elevated that all the way up to 3rd. But at no point was I saying this was a team that I thought was like the 23 or the 24 team. I thought they were meaningfully different, and we're kind of seeing it played out, sadly. Last one I have for you. Is there enough time for both the Timberwolves and the Warriors to rise above the play-in? They're the 2 hottest teams in the NBA. The Timberwolves have now won 8 in a row. The Warriors have won 7 in a row. Those are your 2 longest active win streaks. The Wolves are 4 games behind the Lakers, Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Rockets. So there's 4 teams for them to catch. Is there enough time for them both to get into outside of the play-in?
Ah, man. So I just raved about Minnesota, how they're playing, and also their schedule. But at the same time, 4 games to make up in the loss column on one of those teams for them. That's a lot, man, in a short period of time. Now they've only got 13 games left. Like Lakers have 16, right? Because they were affected by the fires.
Right.
So their schedule looks different. They've got 6. They got more games. So to me, a lot of that could come down to how long is LeBron out?
Yeah.
That's a big part of this, I think, for the Lakers. How long are they out? Unless you feel like, hey, man, Denver could potentially be in like some sort of a free fall situation here. But 4 games is an awful lot in this period of time. With teams that are still good teams that are trying to win every night. So I'm going to say no to that. One of them, yeah. So really, to me, it's between the 2 of them. Minnesota, Golden State, one of those 2 teams gets above that line. One falls below. I don't know that they both make it above the line because you're going to have to run down a team that you're 4 games behind in the loss column if you're Minnesota.
I think it's doable. And while I'm with you that I think the smart money is against it, Golden State plays Denver tonight. They play them 2 times, actually, over these last couple weeks. They also play Memphis, Houston, and the Lakers. They have 7 games remaining. So half their games are against teams with winning records, half of them against teams with losing records. So I'm going to pencil them in. I think the Warriors are in. So the real question is Minnesota, who has 4 games to make up. They also play Denver again. We know how they've looked against Denver for the last 2 years. And they play Memphis, and they only play 6 teams with a winning record, 7 teams with a losing record. I think Minnesota is going to close this season on a heater. And I think one of Denver, Memphis, really Denver, Memphis, LA, because I think Houston's schedule and they're playing a little bit well. They got Fred VanVleet back. I think they're going to be safe. But Denver, Memphis, and LA, I would not be surprised if we're talking about all 3 of those teams free falling, and you only have to catch one of them. I think the Timberwolves have a better shot than most of catching up.
Interesting. Listen, if you're going to catch a heater as a team, now's the time. And they've done it. And Golden State too.
They look great.
It's been going on longer for Golden State, but like for Minnesota, man, they're and it's not just, oh, well, they're winning games now, we're going to talk about them in a positive light. It's not that. It's you're watching their defense, and it resembles very much their defense last year, and it hasn't really. And it does now. And on top of it, they're finding this joy together because it didn't look necessarily all that fun at times. They're finding that too. DiVincenzo's back. That's been a big part of this. I know people might look at him as a role player. That guy is tough as nails. He's energy. He's supplemental 3-point shooting. And the guy has been on good teams throughout his career for a reason. He's a winning player. And now they've got him back because he was in and out with injuries. And they have absolutely hit their maximum stride at exactly the right time of the year. And now they've made the West even more interesting. By the way, I want to real quickly, before we get off, address what you said about people labeling you a homer, this, that, and the other. So I'm going to here's what I know about Adam. The analogy being a home. Picture a home. And like, you're the parent. And no matter what, man, you're out the front porch at night, you're welcoming your kids home, arm around them, no matter what they've been through, no matter how they're acting up, no matter what's going on in their lives. Like, that's a true homer. That's not Adam with the Denver Nuggets. Like, if they act up, he's not out on the front porch. The lights are off. The kid is climbing through the window. Adam's in there with a beer in his hand, feet up, no dinner, go right to bed, clean your room, man. That's Adam for me. When they need to be called out and punished, Adam's there. So he's not some irrational. At times he is. At times, don't get me wrong. At times he's out of his mind with some of this stuff. But for the most part, I will say, man, for a guy that would have every right to be more homer-based or blindsided or everything's through rose-colored glasses with a team. He's not, man. He calls them out when they need to be. And I think these last 3 games is probably the biggest indictment I've had on the Denver Nuggets all season.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's 100% fair. They just do not look like the team they need to be to make any kind of noise.
Now, Aaron Gordon factor's real. So let's at least give him that.
Okay, but at the same time, he's been hurt all year. He keeps trying to come back from this calf injury, re-injures it. So to me, you're right. Aaron Gordon is a major piece. I just don't think he'll be healthy. At this point, you look at it and say he's just not going to be healthy at any point this year. So you're only going to get 70% of him, which means I think you're going to get 70% of the Denver Nuggets. We got a couple super chats before we get out of here, James. I saw some come through here. Jeannie Richmond, who gives us $20, says, just wanted to say I was watching the Magic and Cavs game yesterday and truly enjoyed your call, Legs. Of course, I enjoyed more since my Magic won, but I stand by. You are truly the best in the business. We love that.
I appreciate that.
We love that.
It was a fun broadcast, man. And I was so glad, for me, I don't necessarily care who wins the game ever. I don't at all. I just, we just want close games because it just makes the call better. Yeah. So the Magic fighting back after they got hit with that run before the half really was impressive, and it gave us a great finish.
All right. I love that super chat. Mark Cooper says, digging you calling games, Legs. Look at this, man. The people are waking up to the GOAT.
Appreciate you. Got a big one this week, man. They added this game to our schedule. Denver, your boys in LA. I'll be on the call on Wednesday night.
You said you like good games, huh? Well,
hey, listen. I know that Lakers don't have LeBron, but I don't care. Like, that's going to be a good win for Denver. Like, it could be something. Hey, man, at least let's get some of these wheels back on the track right now. So that's a very important game for the Denver Nuggets to play the Lakers. Look, if you can't beat the Lakers without LeBron, and you got to play this team later with them, who's going to believe that they're going to beat them in a 7-game series if they don't beat them on Wednesday?
Nuggets have to stabilize. Those teams are basically tied in the standings. So that game will be a big one. I'm glad you're on the call for it, though. Whatever happens. Everybody, hit that outro music there, James. We appreciate you guys hanging in. We had a packed show today. We got some more topics than we typically hit in a single show. But we are back tomorrow, and there's some good games on the slate tonight. So we're guaranteed to have some great games. If you want more of Legs, just turn on ESPN. He's going to be on there from now until tonight. He'll just be on television from now to tonight. Isn't that right, Legs?
Pretty much, man. Pretty much.
Yeah. He's doing a lot of hits today, giving you guys some basketball knowledge. Hit that subscribe button and hit that like button on your way out. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.